Hello everyone, FPL Wrapped here and welcome back to another video on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In today's video, we have the final episode of the Top Transfer Target series here on this channel. As always, if you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and also make sure to check out all of the features we use today over at fantasyfootballfix.com. But without further ado, let's jump into the final episode. We are going to start straight away with the two men on the thumbnail, and that is Jamie Vardy and Romelu Lukaku. And of course, it looks pretty weird because there's only one fixture now, game week 38. We are finally here at the final game week. So the graphic does look slightly weird, but do bear with me. I do think that this could be the game week of the premium strikers. I've just got a feeling that game week 38 could be the game week where all of the premium strikers do very well. We're of course looking here at Jamie Vardy and Romelu Lukaku, but we're not going to mention Kane in this video, who of course is a fantastic option for game week 38. We've also got Cristiano Ronaldo in there as a potential option if you want to as well. And then there are some other strikers in there. You might want to go for like a Gabriel Jesus. I think it could be that, again, if you're on a free hit or you've got some free transfers and maybe some funds to redistribute if you've sold the likes of Salah, I do think their premium striker could be the one for game week 38. So the two here we're looking at are Jamie Vardy and Romelu Lukaku. Jamie Vardy in game week 37 obviously scored a brace. I did bring him in and captain him, so I'm very happy that I had him for 37. And then Romelu Lukaku has been scoring quite a few goals recently, and it looks like he's found his form again, and it does look like he's first choice. And at the time of recording this, there are still doubts about Havertz's fitness. Apparently he is suffering from a hamstring issue. Even if he's not suffering from a hamstring issue, I would say that Lukaku's probably first choice. And if he looks nailed on to play that 38 fixture, in my opinion, it is the best fixture of the bunch. So looking at the fixtures, I think they're both great. You've got Southampton at home for Leicester, and you've got Watford at home for Lukaku and Chelsea. So I think either of these, both home fixtures, both playing against defences that are shipping a lot of chances. For me, if we're just looking at the fixture, though, of course, Romelu Lukaku against Watford, that looks like the ideal fixture to target. When we compare the underlying statistics for the two of these players, there is a slight leader, but they are relatively close, and they're both putting up decent underlying statistics across the season. So for total minutes played, they've both suffered with injuries throughout the season. They've only both played around 1,500 minutes. Jamie Vardy's slightly more than Romelu Lukaku. Projected points in game week 38. At the time of recording this, the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm does prefer Vardy. That's mainly because his projected minutes are slightly higher than Romelu Lukaku's. Expected FPL points over the first 36 game weeks, because we haven't updated the data from 37. Jamie Vardy just about out on top, but both of them over 5 expected FPL points per 90, which for strikers is actually really, really good there. Non-penalty expected goal involvement is basically identical for the two of them. So we've got 0.5 for Vardy, we've got 0.49 for Lukaku. Something that is definitely worth noting is that Lukaku's is made up quite equally, actually, of expected goals and expected assists, where, as you would expect with Vardy, the main bulk of his underlying data is made up through expected goals. He's more of a goal threat as opposed to likely to get you assists. And then big chances per 90. Definite clear leader here. Jamie Vardy at 0.82, and that's not penalties. That's just open play, clear-cut chances. You can see there, 0.82 big chances per 90 is very, very good. Only 0.36 for Lukaku, which is slightly worrying. But when we're looking at a one-fixture game here, we're not looking at bringing these players in for 4, 5, 6 game weeks. This is for one fixture. I don't mind targeting that Watford fixture. And then for touches in the box, both of them getting a lot of touches in the box. They are out-and-out number 9s, the pair of them, normally playing in a one-striker formation. So you would expect them to get a fair amount of touches in the box, but pretty impressive for the both of them. So, to be honest, I'd be happy bringing either of these guys in. And like I said, it is slightly different for game week 38. You want to take a bit of a punt. You want to take a fun punt, and you want to target the fixtures as much as possible. And Lukaku against Watford at home just looks like such an appetizing one for me. Like I said, I already own Vardy, so I will have Vardy for 38. I think he's a great option against Southampton. Southampton do play a relatively high line, and it just looks like a sort of fixture we've seen in the past as well. It does suit Jamie Vardy. I also like Lukaku, though. Let me know down below, who do you prefer out of these two? If you pushed me to select one, I think I would probably go Lukaku if we know he's going to start. Of course, it massively depends on what the game, or what the lineup is against Leicester, because the Leicester lineup on the Thursday is only a couple of days before obviously the Watford game. It's the same for Leicester, but Leicester have less options, and I think Jamie Vardy's more integral to their team. But for Lukaku, again, if Havertz is fit, it might be that he plays. So let me know down below, who do you prefer, Vardy or Lukaku, or are you looking at neither of these guys? Of course, if you already own Kane, or you think you want to go to Kane, I think Kane's probably an even better option than the two of these, but a lot of people already own him. So we are sticking with another Chelsea player here in Mason Mount, and we're actually comparing him here with Luis Diaz. Now, Diaz has been in absolutely excellent form, passing the eye test, but also showing very strong underlying statistics. And I just think with how well he's playing, with the fact that Liverpool are still going to be in for a shout for the title in Game Week 38, assuming they beat Southampton on the Tuesday. Of course, I'm recording this for the Monday. then Luis Diaz should start in 38 realistically. There's enough of a gap between the game against Wolves in 38 and the Champions League final, so I don't see any reason why I'd need to rest Diaz, and especially if Salah is still struggling with his groin issues, then it could potentially be that they have no choice other than to play Diaz. And like I said, he has just looked so good. If you've watched any of the football, if you've looked at the underlying data, it's all just matching up to tell us that we have a serious player in Luis Diaz, and I think he's going to be a very exciting option in the Premier League next year, especially for us FPL managers. And then Mason Mount has been almost the opposite, sort of very consistently ticking along. It's interesting with Mason Mount, though, because I say he's been ticking along quite consistently, but he's actually blanked in quite a few game weeks this season. The thing is, he has massively hauled in some as well. I think on 3 separate occasions he scored over 20, or maybe he's got 19, a 21, and a 24 points, I believe. So Mason Mount has that in his locker, that massive haul potential, and that's why he's such a fantastic option. And once again, that Watford fixture just looks set up perfectly. If Mason Mount plays, which I think he will because it's the final home game of the season, it looks like a really nice fixture. And the fixture for Luis Diaz, I don't think is too bad against Wolves. Again, Wolves consistently across the season defend pretty well, but more recently, their defensive data's dropped off slightly, and they just look like they're struggling quite a lot. They conceded to Norwich, and I think that Liverpool, again, will be going for goal difference. Assuming that they beat Southampton, they're going to be going for goal difference just in case it comes down to that. I think there's a decent chance that Liverpool put quite a few goals past Wolves, in my opinion. If we look at the data once again to compare the two of them, of course, Luis Diaz has only played 870 minutes. He's not been in the Premier League for a full season. Mason Mount has played every minute that he's been available, apart from a couple of injuries. So he's played over 2,000. Projected points per 90. Projected points over the just for the final game week for game week 38. Fantasy Football Fix algorithm massively prefers Mason Mount here at 6.3. Luis Diaz is on 4.1. Again, that is expected minutes, though. They're expecting Mason Mount to start and play quite a few minutes, whereas Luis Diaz, it's very difficult to know if Salah is fit. Is he going to be the one to drop out? Is Mane dropping out? Is Jota dropping out? They've got Firmino as well, Salah. So they've got a few options to pick there. When we look at their data across the season, though, 5.86 expected FPL points per 90 for Luis Diaz, 5.5 for Mason Mount. So fairly comparable between the two. Pretty good for the pair of them. Slightly better than Vardy and Lukaku, which you would expect because midfielders get the extra point for a clean sheet and extra point for a goal. Non-penalty expected goal involvement. Luis Diaz is coming out on top, which I was quite surprised about here. 0.58. And if you look at someone like Jota, it's even better. Jota's pushing 0.7, 0.8 along with Mane and Salah. So you could go for any of the Liverpool midfielders, really. But I like Diaz because he's passing the eye test. Like I said, he's just a very exciting pick. So 0.58 non-penalty expected goal involvement is very good. Mason Mount isn't terrible at 0.49. It has dropped off across the season. It's slightly lower than it is in more recent weeks, I should say. But he has had quite a few good performances in recent weeks. So again, both of them performing fairly well. Luis Diaz just about edging it. Big chances per 90, though. Luis Diaz is getting a lot of big chances. And again, this was something that surprised me because when I watched Luis Diaz, I think he's someone that occupies the edge of the box quite well. He shows quite a lot of skill, but I didn't associate him with getting a lot of clear-cut opportunities. But 0.62 big chances per 90 is very good. If you compare that to Mason Mount's, it's almost double what Mason Mount's getting at 0.36 big chances per 90, which coincidentally is the same as Romelu Lukaku. Touches in the box, again, incredible for Luis Diaz. 8.07 for Luis Diaz, 5.26 for Mason Mount. So putting this together, if we're looking at just the underlying statistics, I love Luis Diaz. I think he looks like a great option here. And I think, like I said, Diogo Jota's underlying data is even better than Luis Diaz's. Just in recent weeks, I think Diaz has looked better than Jota. So I would probably lean towards Diaz. But when you also take into account the fixture, I think it almost becomes a 50-50. Fixture's better for Mason Mount, and he's still got good data. Luis Diaz has better data, but I don't think the fixture is quite as good. The one thing that I would say is that Liverpool have a lot more to play for. Again, it will depend on if they beat Southampton, but they should have a little bit more to play for than Chelsea. So we might see a little bit more rotation there. And also, there's a shorter gap between Chelsea's 37 fixture, only about 2 days between their 37 fixture and their 38. Whereas Liverpool, it's on the Tuesday and then the Sunday. So Liverpool have maybe 4 or 5 days between their two fixtures. So let me know down below, are you considering Diaz? Are you considering Mount? I already own Mount in my own team, which I'm happy with. I am definitely looking at ways to get Diaz in. For example, I own Saka in my team. I'm thinking if I can find a little bit of funds, could I potentially go for Luis Diaz in for Saka? I think he could be a fantastic option. Let me know down below if you like either of these. So we're not going to discuss Son and Kane in a lot of detail here because most people already own Son or Kane. And if you don't, definitely prioritise them above any of the 6 players we're mentioning here, 100%. And you could bring in both of them if you don't already own both of them. But I still think I want to discuss some Spurs players. I think Kulusevski or Lucas Moura, whoever's going to start, there could be another great option if you want to double up or triple up on the attack. But I really like the look of Ryan Sessegnon and Emerson at the moment. And as well as just the fact that, again, we're going to get onto it, but their data's very good. They've got arguably the best fixture here against Norwich away alongside the Chelsea fixture of Watford at home. but I like how cheap they are. Now, the reason I say that is, again, if we're looking to bring in the likes of Vardy, Lukaku, Kane, Son, maybe you're bringing in a Liverpool attacker as well. Maybe you're bringing in Mason Mount or Foden. Maybe you're looking for De Bruyne as well. I mean, there are so many good premium assets and sort of starting to push towards the premium. You know, those £8 and £9 million players that are starting to look really good for Game Week 38. You might need to find some funds. So it might be, and I know this sounds like a very risky move, it might be that you want to downgrade the likes of Trent or Robertson to a Sessegnon to allow you to get a premium attacker. Or maybe you just downgrade someone like a Laporte to a Sessegnon. I think a lot of people will look to find funds by downgrading some defenders. And I think the likes of Sessegnon at 4.3 and Emerson Royale at 4.5 could be some great options. And even if you're not looking to downgrade, as we're going to get onto, I do think that these are still two of the best options in defence for 38. So the Norwich fixture, like I said, is absolutely fantastic from a defensive and on offensive perspective. I think you should be going into this game, if you can, with probably at least one or two Spurs players, probably Son or Kane, and then maybe look at a Tottenham defender as well. When we look at their data across the season, of course, it is worth noting that Ryan Sessegnon's only played 962 minutes, whereas Emerson Royale's played over 2,000 minutes, played a lot of minutes this season. So obviously a smaller sample size for Sessegnon, but enough. 1,000 minutes is a fair amount of games, looking at about 9 or 10, 90 minutes there. So I think that's probably enough to start drawing some trends. When we look at projected points, Emerson Royale is slightly higher than Sessegnon. Again, that comes down to expected minutes as opposed to the underlying data being that much better. Expected FPL points across the season thus far, very similar for the both of them and very good. 5.21 for each of them. That is very, very, very good data for the two of them there. Like I said, that's a clean sheet and an appearance point there with a yellow card every single game for expected FPL points. So it's really, really impressive. Where the data becomes very interesting for me is non-penalty expected goal involvement. Emerson Royale, a very respectable 0.15. To put that into perspective, that's slightly better than Matty Cash and Luka Dean. So Emerson Royale showing some decent underlying data for 4.5 million. But Ryan Sessegnon's at 0.31 non-penalty expected goal involvement. 0.31 is better than Coutinho over the last 6. It's similar to the likes of Rafinha across the season, similar to the likes of Zaha across the season as well. So Sessegnon is putting up underlying data similar to that of attackers. To put it into further perspective, it's better than Robertson, it's better than Cancelo, it's pushing on the likes of Trent and Reece James too. So Sessegnon at 4.3 million is putting up the underlying data of a premium with a great fixture as well. What I would say with Emerson Royale versus Sessegnon is a lot of Sessegnon's data here is made up through expected assists. So 0.29 is made up through expected assists, which means he's only got a 0.02 expected goals. So essentially you're not likely to get a goal with Sessegnon, but you are very likely to get an assist for a defender anyway. Whereas Emerson Royale is equally split between expected goals and expected assists. So as you can see with the big touches, the big chances I should say, it carries on that trend. Emerson Royale is getting 0.12 big chances per 90, whereas Sessegnon has had 0 this season. So Sessegnon is not going to be getting you a lot of big chances. And then touches in the box, Emerson Royale is getting you slightly, Ryan Sessegnon, apologies, is getting you slightly more there at 3.56 to Emerson Royale's 2.44. So I think these are both fantastic options. I just think considering he's £0.2 million cheaper, considering how good his non-penalty expected goal involvement is, and the fact that he's getting into the box a little bit more, I think I would take the punt on Sessegnon, but I don't mind Emerson Royale at all. And I do think that if you're looking for a cheaper defender or just maybe like a punt for Game Week 38 in the defensive positions, I think Ryan Sessegnon and Emerson Royale could be fantastic options. So guys, there you have it. That is the final episode of the Top Transfer Target series done and dusted. I really appreciate the support that you've shown both me, this series, and the channel across the season. And if you have really appreciated the content this season, do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And like I always say, all of the features that I've used today, the fixture analyzer, the touch maps, whatever it may be, all of that stuff you can find over at fantasyfootballfix.com. Now would be a good time to sign up, especially going into the new season as well, because there are lots and lots of new features coming. Until next time, guys, I hope you get a massive green arrow for Game Week 38, finish the season strong, and we'll see you again next season.